making a statement, I'm making a mark in the sand here and claiming I've discovered something for myself. And I'll try and communicate with that, what that is, and how it can help. It's helped me, but it is challenging. But I've made a discovery, and I'll try and talk about it. It's very simple. It's incredibly simple to say in words, but to live it and you've got to find your own truth in it. And that is really that I don't have a self. I don't have an identity, to put it really simply. And I don't believe anybody does really have a concrete sense of self or identity. And I've made that conscious. I'm confident about that, which is a paradox, isn't it? Because that sounds like an identity, but that seems to be what's happened, what I've done. So I've discovered that I don't have a self, that I'm a mystery, that I haven't got a clue who I am. I don't really ultimately have an identity that I can fix or pin or know, and that gives me an immense freedom. But the challenge has been for me, as I said earlier about living in places like Totnes and Glastonbury, is that I've had to face the challenge of talking about that, relating it, being confident about it, dealing with it in relationships. So the real focus for me in my life has always been about how does love work? How does man and woman work with regards to this thing? It's all very well getting some enlightened, non-dual, empty state, but how does that apply to relationship? How am I going to get the love and all the feelings and all the emotions about love and sexuality integrated into that knowledge, into that state where I don't, in a way, some part of me doesn't care about any of that, doesn't believe in it more. But my journey has been to really, I've been taught by women, I've loved women, I've had relationships that have been long and beautiful and torturous, and that's been my journey, as well as discovering this inner thing that's quite separate to relationships, quite an alone thing, discovery. I wanted to apply it to relating, to love, integrate it, and that's what I've done and doing. And that's really, really difficult. It's been really difficult to do. Really challenging. Does that make sense? That makes sense. Tell me if it doesn't make sense. Please tell me if it doesn't make sense. Because I'm doing my best to try and make it make sense. So, so a big focus of it for me, a big focus of my life has been what is love? What's the actual reality of loving somebody in love? As well as this other part, which is just who am I? Forget loving, forget you, forget woman, forget relationship. Who am I? And okay, I don't know who I am, but where does that leave me in relationship to loving and loving somebody, and being in love and expressing love? And ironically, or wonderfully, for me, it gives me immense freedom to love. But it takes two. You can't do it alone. It takes two people to understand it and to kind of agree or realise together. And that's what I'm attempting to do right now, talking to you. So, really, ideally, I prefer not to talk too much. Rather than be alone, but to talk with you. Because talking is just lecturing, it's one-sided. Ideally, one of my big focuses is about conversation. To really, really converse and listen. Because my experience from where I am, very few people listen. We talk about ourselves, like I'm doing now, and that's the danger in what I'm doing, just talking at you. And very few people know how to really listen to what's been said and respond to it. That to me is such a simple thing to say, but it seems like almost a forgotten or not even explored art. Of somebody says something, you listen to what they say, and you respond directly to it, and then listen to what they say, and then you respond directly back to that. And you go on a journey then of discovery. What most people tend to do is just talk about themselves and ignore what's been said. And then you talk about yourself, I ignore what you're saying, and then and that's called conversation. And to me, the art of really listening and conversing is an incredibly challenging and profound thing to do. I would say I've spent my whole life learning to do that, to really, really listen and respond and explore really intelligently without putting many of my own ideas or beliefs onto the conversation, but which you can't avoid doing, but really to stay in touch with really, really intelligently exploring is what I profess to be able to do. You've got to prove it. You've got to prove it. But that's what I feel like
Can I test that with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just sort of
Test me.
test you out. I want to test myself out.
Yeah.
Just a pressure, really. I'm just aware of a pressure in me about this communication thing and an anxiety, really.
Yeah.
And obviously when I'm with you or when I'm one-to-one, it's very different. But there's still a pressure. But yeah, I'm just aware of how frightened really I am to actually own who I am, to say what I want to say, and how easily I'm led and hypnotised by the others, I know there isn't a question there, but I just thought, well, I'm going to say it. I'm just not going to sit here and feel it without saying it. I sense that's part of the conversation, part of the thing I need to do, But yeah, it's frightening. People frighten the hell out of me.
Yeah. So
the mind frightens the hell out of me.
But being judged.
Yeah. Insecure. At war with myself in and I thought I just want to say that publicly, put it out there, so that
it's not a secret then.
So it's not a secret.
Yeah.
I don't want to lie.
Yeah.
I've done enough lying in my life.
Yeah.
Is part of that being afraid of conflict? I can really feel that.
Yeah.
Conflict just
disagreeing.
Yeah, it just stirs me up. It's I want to avoid feeling disturbed. I'm not sure that being real in relating means you can avoid conflict to some degree. As much as you might want to listen and all of that. There's a point where you just got to say your thing.
And just take a risk.
And get, to see how makes you nervous and disturbing. I spent a lot of my life trying to avoid conflict.
Yeah.
Just sort of
I agree.
Relate to it.
I agree.
Is that because you're not secure in what you're saying?
I can see I get put into doubts about what I'm saying. Like someone else, quite easy, there's a jarring thing going on.
Yeah.
I can, withdraw if I'm not careful.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I was talking to Robert yesterday about this really. It's the way, if I tell them, well, this is how I deal with it. One of the things I often say to people, when I'm talking in any depth really, one of the things that comes out of me, I found the secret to self-confidence. It's quite a statement, isn't it? I found the secret, and what it is really is that everybody tries to get confident through their personality, through ego, through being somebody. Be it job, ideology, belief, religion. Try and get confident with those things. And it's clear to me, if you look, I think it should be to anyone, if you look at people doing that, they're never really that confident. But ultimately, film stars, pop stars, famous people, we always see there's a massive chink in their armour, their lives collapse in some way, or something happens to them, or they just look nervous and self-defensive. And to actually really have confidence, it doesn't seem to me you can put your value in the personality. The only way you can get confidence is getting confident with the fact that you don't know who you are. You don't actually know, and you haven't got an identity. But first of all, maybe it's important to admit that is a problem. That is actually, which is kind of what I feel you're saying. The truth is that not having an identity and not knowing who you are is actually really, first of all, a bloody big problem in this world. Because you've got to have an identity to survive. So it's all very well me saying not having an identity gives me confidence. Well, how did I get to that? Because that's not natural to do that. Naturally, what we do, or suppose is to have a job, identity, a house, a position, a salary, a wife, kids, whatever it might be, to get strength and confidence. Or a belief system, a religion. So I haven't done that. I've negated all those things and said I don't have any identity and I don't believe in anything. And that's given me amazing confidence. But that's been a journey. It's not been easy. That's not just, oh, I've done that, that's done. It's taken me like 15, 20 years from the beginning of that process, really, of losing my identity, to actually come to terms with it and get strong, if you like, or confident about it in the face of basically attack. Because the world is just, to me this is a very aggressive environment, all disguised in social niceties and, sociality, civilization. But it's at its core, it's an incredibly aggressive psychic environment. So I've had to find my confidence by facing that from this place of not knowing myself. So which is like a paradox. I've had to get confidence about being nobody. And what I found is I started doing that, I was telling you a minute ago, I started teaching this in '95. I felt very confident. But I had never taught it, I'd never spoken publicly about it. So I started speaking publicly to women and to men. And I started to get attacked, criticised, yes, Chris, but, yes, but, yeah. And that attack then was like, wow, right, it's all very well, Chris, you think you know what's true, but you've got to face this thing of people, and other people are in different places to you, and you've not dealt with that ever from this place. You've had up to 30 dealing with it the way everyone else deals with it, by compromising and having beliefs and believing in that and being in this club and being in that club. Suddenly I was doing something radically different, saying, well, I don't believe in any of it. Now what do you think? And people don't like it. They attack you. They're like, oh yeah, but you should believe in things and you shouldn't. So, and then I faced this challenge of having to stand up for look, I don't believe in anything. But what was really disturbing was that really angered people and made people feel very pinned like rats in a corner, and they just jumped at your throat. It's like they do not want to be told that they're nobody. They want to be somebody. So I went through a huge crisis, really, of having to make strong this knowledge of no self, and this knowledge of not being anybody, and be challenged by all these different clever, mindy positions and attacks, especially for me, for women. And I'll explain that, because I love women. And whatever you love crucifies you. I don't love men, I love women. So they're my nemesis. Just as for you, you love men, we're your nemesis. Because that's the real, you're my opposite. You're the thing I want love from, so you're the thing that can hurt me the most. Put it that simply. You're the thing I want love, so if I want something, I'm needy, I'm dependent, therefore you can kill me. You can really, really mess with my head. So I had to go through a huge process of trying to understand the woman's psyche, woman's relationship to me saying this stuff about no self. Because she didn't like it, it seemed. Some did, but some didn't. It seemed to be almost an attack or an affront on their identity. So my own little personal journey then was to get confident, or find out what was true. Are they right? Am I right? Who's right here? Where's the true place? And so I had to get confident by facing the reality of people, relationships, being attacked, being criticised, being, and instead of, and I didn't for a while. I didn't want to. I ran away from that. Oh, it's just too scary. It's too painful. I ran away for a while and gave up teaching. That was part of, in a way, admitting defeat. It's part of going, oh yeah, you win, I give up. But I knew I would come back. I had to re-enter the arena and get on with it. Because it keeps chasing you. I was still in a relationship with a woman, so she just kept chasing me, confronting me, challenging me. You can't run away from your fear, it just keeps finding you. So it's been a very real journey like that, of just having to keep being honest about my fear, about my worry, about relationships, about the woman. And all it's been doing really is constantly getting confident about, look, I don't have a self. But then that does have certain... What I've discovered is you've got to enlighten your mind. You've got to make your mind more intelligent. You can't just be still. You can't just go into meditation. You can, but it's 50% of you. That's just beingness. That's just going in and being calm. And anyone can do that on holiday, on a beach, in a meditation class, meditate. But what's really, really hard is to get your mind, your feelings, your thoughts, your beliefs, your identity, all the stuff of your mind, your reflective part, if I can call it that, get that intelligent, to get that really intelligent, not just reactive. Get that, which is a whole question, I admit, but you've got to get that, bring the mind along with it. And that's seemingly what I've done. I know how to be still, I know how to be calm, I know how to be centered, but my mind, my beliefs in love, my beliefs in woman, my beliefs in identity, my beliefs about loving and being loving, what is love itself, that's the mind, that's the school. I'm not sure, the human race is the kind of like, I'm not sure we're up to that yet. That's a scary new territory to go into. So I'm really, what I do is talk a lot about the mind and talk a lot about getting the mind really highly intelligent about our ignorance, our beliefs, the way we think about everything from love to feelings to sex to relationships to gender to everything, and get that awake and intelligent about life. Ultimately, it's knowing that you don't have a mind, and that the mind's not important, but it's somewhere you've got to keep that, bring that, get intelligent about it all, about the journey. Does that make sense?